Hello everybody. Right, mic right in my face. Before we go any further, this story is not suitable.
Hi, how are you?
Hey Wraith, I'm not too bad, how are you? Kiddo, thank you. I know you're not feeling too good, it means a lot that you're here. So obligatory, as Mr. Modman has already said in the chat, not suitable for children or squeamish snowflakes. So if you're under 18 or you're not, you live in a world where everything's all fairies and rainbows and you might not want to be here. Thank you, Mr. Mormon. So yeah, viewer discretion is advised. But yes, Mr. Modman, sorry, I was having some technical issues with Spud. She decided she was going to go to sleep on me. Cheers, kiddo, and cheers for sharing them. I saw that. Really appreciate it, man. Trying to get the stories out there, because they're interesting, and if we don't tell them, they're going to get forgotten about. And I know history is usually told by the victors, and it's all, well, again, sunshine and rainbows, because nobody ever wants to talk about the bad stuff. But we kind of need to talk about the bad stuff to stop it if it happening again, you know. So, last week, it was brought to my attention that we wanted justice. We wanted to see the bad guy get proper punishment. As you can tell by the paper, I've still got my book, but I got my printer working, which makes life a lot easier. So, you wanted justice, justice you shall receive. Tonight's story, it's really hard to read small printer and probably should increase the font size for next week. Tonight's story takes place... Aye, that's right enough. I'm on the right page. In 1888. Very true, very true. But red light and all the rest, it kind of makes it hard to see. Hey Andy, thanks for dropping in. So, yep, tonight's story takes place in Edinburgh, 1888. And we are focusing on a woman by the name of Jessie King. Now, I mentioned her last week, but didn't actually mention her name. Now, Jessie King was the last woman in Edinburgh to be executed. Spoiler, she got hanged for her crimes. Now, after she was convicted for taking money to adopt babies and killing them. But wouldn't it be one of my stories if there wasn't a twist there? Was she a callous killer? Or was she just a vulnerable scapegoat that took the blame for somebody else? What? You wanted justice? This woman hanged. But like I said, she was the last woman to be executed in Edinburgh. So I kind of figured, because I mentioned her last week, I figured I would go with this one. Right, so on to the story. I know I'm doing it a wee bit backwards tonight because I just told the ending and now I'm going on to the story. But you need to make up your own minds as to whether or not she did do it, or if she was getting the blame for somebody else's crimes. One afternoon in October in 1888, a group of young friends made a makeshift football from a bundle of oilskins that they'd found in the lane behind Cheyenne Street, which I believe is Edinburgh. I think the whole story is set in Edinburgh. But little did they know what was inside the bundle. The discovery of the body of a dead child led the authorities being alerted, and Jessie King and her partner, Thomas Pearson, came under suspicion. When their house was raided, a baby girl was found strangled in the coal closet. Jessie King took all of the guilt, claiming that Pearson knew nothing of what went on. When he was subsequently released, she asked to withdraw her confession, but it was too late. The case of Jessie King was about to bring Edinburgh face to face with one of the biggest scandals of the Victorian period, baby farming. I did warn you, this one's pretty gruesome. In February 1889, 27-year-old King appeared at the High Court in Edinburgh, accused of the murders of 3 babies. So obviously, the one found in the oilskin, the baby girl found strangled at the house, and there was a third baby. No worries, kiddo. She was not their mother, but she had taken the children after responding to advertisements in newspapers for person wanted to adopt child. For the payment of a small amount of money, the baby farmer would take the child, which was then either killed or severely neglected. So they were basically being paid to take these babies that they didn't want. They didn't want the babies, they wanted the money. So they took the babies, they took the money, they offed the babies. Sick. Yeah. The babies in this case were the illegitimate sons and daughters of domestic servants and factory girls whose unwanted pregnancies threatened what was already a precarious existence. So these were unwed mothers that couldn't afford to have the babies. So they gave them up, thinking that it was best for the babies. But of course, it wasn't. Not in this case. What could have driven Jessie King to such a fate? Vulnerable, uneducated, and penniless, Jessie had struggled to survive. She met Thomas Pearson when she was heavily pregnant to a man who had offered to marry her, but somehow fell under the spell of the disgraced Glasgow man who was some 30 years older than her. So this guy had got her pregnant and offered to marry her, but she fell for this disgraced Glasgow man that was, well, she's 20, it's even double her age, right? He was a middle-class figure who had abandoned his wife and family and was drinking himself towards destitution. So he had money, but he was a drunk. He also had a wife and kids back home and didn't give a damn about them. Yet he still seemed capable of a powerful hold over Jessie. Well, here's this young lassie, she's heavily pregnant, she's no got nothing, the feather's no got nothing. He tries to do the right thing and she thinks, nope, I'm going for the rich drunk. He's got money, he'll support us. Desperate times and all that. I mean, at least you didn't eat the fucking kid, right? I did say I'd swear off the cannibals for a wee while. Until another one piques my interest. And then it's back to my neck of the woods been cannibals central, but kind of gone off track here. What exactly went on in the houses they stayed at between August 1887 and October 1888 may never be known, but it appears the pair adopted at least 3 babies and they didn't live that long. During her trial, Jessie was seen as beyond evil. Well, no fucking shit. I mean, sorry for dropping that one there, but I mean, she's adopted and killed 3 babies. Of course they're going to see her as evil. I mean, this ain't no Mother Teresa. Hell, Mother Teresa wasn't even Mother Teresa, but that is a completely different story. And not one that I'm getting into, because I don't touch religion. But, no, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that this woman, she had some connection to these dead babies one way or another, so she ain't a saint, okay? It's like 3 dead kids here. Of course they're going to portray her as evil. Eleanor Gordon, Professor of Social and Gender History, so that's a thing, at the University of Glasgow, says Jessie was given no mercy, either in the press coverage or even in the drawings that depicted her. She was portrayed as a ravaged wretch and rat-like creature, instead of a 27-year-old woman who was vulnerable and perhaps had mental health problems. Well, no shit, she had mental health problems. Oh, this is what I don't understand, and this is why I am so glad that we have progressed to the stage in society that we have, where people that are this vulnerable, that need help, get help. They don't get depicted as rat-like and hung up to, well, hang. Pearson proclaimed his innocence and his ignorance of what happened to the children. That is beyond belief, says Professor Gordon. Well, obviously he's going to deny all knowledge. There's 3 dead babies here that were in his house. Historian and broadcaster Louise Yeoman says Pearson turned Queen's evidence and helped convict King. Ooh. But if he didn't ken about it, how can he give evidence against her? Something smells a wee bit fishy here. She says he was allowed immunity from prosecution for being a Crown witness. There was good reason to suggest that Jessie was not alone in the crimes. Obviously. Like, he claims he knew nothing about it, but yet he turns a Crown witness. No. It doesn't compute. Oh dear God. For one, the remains of one of the victims were found on a shelf which was too high for Jessie to reach. Another child was found wrapped in Pearson's coat, but he knew nothing about it. Didn't have a clue. Jessie, where's my kid Jacob? I'm off down the pub. Oh, I don't know, it's in the cupboard back there, but you maybe need to move the dead fucking baby. How could he not know? Okay? Oh, look, sweetheart, can you pick this, just pick this dead infant up on that shelf for me, because I'm too short to reach. I couldn't tell you what's on half of my shelves because I'm 5'2". I get ginger to do it. So if something miraculously appears on the top shelf, I didn't fucking put it there. He did. Or one of the kids because they're taller than me too. But you get the point. Okay? It just, It took the jury just minutes to find Jessie guilty, and she was given an automatic death sentence. She clearly didn't act alone, but she certainly wasn't a little miss innocent here. So, yay! Justice! Her Roman Catholic confessor wrote pleading for her life to the Secretary of the State. To save Pearson, she made the statement which has done her so much injury. She now declares that he, in one of the cases, did the deed, and in the other two, he stood near directing and guiding her in administration of the whiskey. So they basically poisoned 2 babies to death with whiskey. It seems a more likely solution of this terrible crime that the hard-hearted man and an unfaithful husband, an aged man, was there directing the unsteady and clumsy hand of the poor woman he had made his slave. So basically this Catholic confessor is pleading the case that yes, she did do it, but she had no free will. Which, I'll be fair, I don't totally believe either. I don't believe that for a second. On the night of 10th March, Jessie parted with her own baby, Thomas, for the last time. She was hanged the next day. They ain't messing about here. They're straight out the door. I've lost my place. This font is tiny. There we go. The last woman executed in Edinburgh is buried under the car park of St Andrew's House, which used to be the site of Carlton Gaol. God, even I can't pronounce all these Scottish words. Pearson died in Glasgow the following year. So, yay. By 1890, they're both dead. Louise Yeoman, that's our professor. No, that's our historian. It's one of them. I don't think justice was done. Thomas Pearson was clearly the person that came up with the scheme. I don't think Jessie could have come up with this on her own. Thomas Pearson really should have carried some responsibility for this. I agree. I mean, he drank himself to death a year later, so, I mean, yay. But, no, he should have hung for this. No. Advocate Claire Connolly whoever she is, I don't know, says, "It is my belief that if Jessie King was to be tried for a similar crime today, given what we know about her mental impairment, her relationship with Pearson, the controlling and coercive nature of their relationship, that she would certainly be pleading diminished responsibility to the charge of murder, and that if successfully pled, would have resulted in a conviction of culpable homicide rather than murder." No. Sorry, no. I'm no buying the diminished responsibility bullshit. No. They both deserved to hang. She did. He popped his clogs a year later. If she were tried today, she should she should go to life, go away for life, prison for life, simple as. I don't buy diminished responsibility, and I don't buy culpable homicide, because see, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Don't get used to it, kid. At the end of the day, right, she still took these babies, took money to take these babies, and killed these babies. Diminished responsibility? No, that shit was premeditated. She knew what she was doing. He might have been in charge, he might have been controlling, he might have came up with the idea, but she still knew what she was doing. She had a kid of her own. Good job. But this woman, she was a mother herself. She had a kid of her own, and she was paid to take these other 3 babies, and instead of nurturing them and caring for them, they killed them, and he pissed the money up a wall and ended up dead himself anyway a year later. No. Diminished responsibility, my ass. She knew what she was doing. She fed whiskey to 2 of their babies and stood and watched while I'm so shiny, I'm sorry. Oh my god. Jeez. But she stood and watched as he killed a baby. And hid it in a top shelf. No. Diminished responsibility, my arse. They're both cold-blooded killers. She just got called out. He walked free because she was an easy target. Sorry, I'm reading a wee bit more, but the printouts I've got here, they're kind of, they go on to talk about other, right, cases of mass murder by women are fortunately rare, right? It is rare for a woman to go on a killing spree. It's not rare for a woman to kill, but it's rare for a woman to kill multiple times. Now, it does go into, it names quite a few. But I'm not going into that because I don't want to talk about these 2 women. Or the French woman who I've never actually heard of. So that's any interest at all. But the other 2 women, I'm not even giving them the time of day. I'm not even naming them. Because they are recent. One of them more so than the other, but I do know both stories, and no. Right, the trial of Jessie King ended with almost inevitable verdicts of guilty on 2 of the murder charges. The jury took only 4 minutes. And remember last week's story? The jury took 18 minutes and we thought, wow, that's quick. You know, the forensic science case where she walked out on compassionate grounds. Yeah, fucking joke right up there with this diminished responsibility. Show a child killer compassion. Honest to Jeebus. But 4 minutes? My God, this woman was hated. 4 minutes. They reached a unanimous verdict. Well, I'm kind of not surprised. No, it was a rat-like creature that they depicted her as. She wasn't really, actually. She was a bit of a plain Jane. I've done fun pictures. I wouldn't have said she was rat-like. I mean, I'm pretty sure with today's cosmetics and slap a filter on it and it would have looked fucking stunning. Like I said, a bit of a plain Jane, but, you know, makeup's a thing that's readily available these days. Hell, I've got about £600 off right there. And that's a lie, because it's probably a bit tripled up, but never mind. Jeez, my brushes alone are worth about £300. But I digress. King was sentenced to be hanged by the neck until dead. I'm sorry, this is my personal opinion, but that sentence should be carried out for all child predators. Yeah, that and my shoes. I've got a lot of shoes. I like shoes. And handbags. Got quite a few handbags, actually. Thank you, Mr. Modman. You're on point tonight. The case gives us a glimpse of life in Victorian Edinburgh, particularly among the lower classes. Now, I've been in Edinburgh a lot over the last decade, and Mr. Modman here can back me up in this. A lot of these old Victorian buildings still exist, particularly around the West End and the Cowgate. And they're so fudging depressing. They're just giant, dark, and cumbersome structures, and I mean, if that's what you were living in when you were back then, nae bloody want it. You know, and the stigma and financial realities, oh my God, see this? Of illegitimacy were disastrous to girls who got themselves into trouble. Speaking for personal experience, we ain't improved much as a society in that front. Girls who get themselves into trouble are treated no better today than what they were back then. But that's another matter. And none of the choices available were likely to provide a happy solution. It's true. I mean, back then, if you get knocked up and there was no baby daddy on the scene, no ringing the finger, you were screwed twice. I mean, you were a pariah and you didn't have anybody to look after you. You ended up in a flaming workhouse. The girl could return in shame to her parents if they would take her back, or she could rely on the charity of the parish. Other options were infanticide. Kill the baby as soon as it's born. Illegal abortion, with its great risks to health, yeah, because I can imagine back alley abortions in the 1880s were really great quality. How to end up dead. Trying to find the prospective father and persuade him into marriage. Here, mate, you knocked me up, gonna put a ring on my finger afore a pop. Yeah, that's gonna go down well. Having the child and trying to earn money to support both mother and baby, often by prostitution, which a lot of these girls did end up doing. I mean, I'm not going to this sex work, because at the end of the day, they had babies to feed. At least they decided not to kill them. Get what I mean? I mean, by the standards of these folk, these lassies were already damaged goods, so what's the harm in doing what you gotta do to feed your kid? At least, like I said, they didn't kill the Wayne. Or didn't you end up in some dodgy ass doctors doing the Cowgate with a coat hanging up them? So, I'm not dissing that they kept the Wayne and ended up having to sell themselves for it. The other choice was to have the baby and arrange an adoption. Without the advantages of the social work department, this was usually a private arrangement, and it was not until the 1930s that adoption was put on a formal basis as we know it now. So it was basically you found a rich family that couldn't have kids. Here, do you want to buy my baby? No bother, here you go. Still works that way in most countries. Jesus Christ, in America it can cost you over $100,000 to adopt, legally adopt. So, just, you know, I guess. In a commercial transaction, a deal was easily struck if there is a willing buyer and a desperate seller. Newspaper advertisements usually provided the necessary link between the parties. For only a few pounds, the girls could solve her problems, and with only her conscience left to trouble her. So basically, these families took out an ad looking for a baby. The mum took out an ad looking. The pregnant lassie took out an ad looking for somebody to buy her baby, I guess. Pretty much like we would do if we were getting a new sofa. Put an ad up on Facebook. Do you want to buy a sofa? Now, we should bear in mind that antenatal care was probably non-existent in the vast bulk of unwanted pregnancies, and the risk of miscarriage was fairly high. Well, these women were barely surviving themselves, so imagine the toll of an unwanted pregnancy on a body that's already struggling just to stay awake and alive. And I've got a giant ass Pikachu behind me. Many quacks were willing to provide a greater range of drugs in these circumstances, with varying degrees of success. Professor Gleister's great textbook, Medical dear God, jurisprudence and toxicology refers to a considerable traffic in ab- abortifacient drugs under barely disguised names such as female remedies for obstruction. Wow. Now, Professor Gloucester, ding ding ding, you remember for last week, the hair guy? What's the chances? Wasn't expecting that name. That's the forensic guy that was able to match the killer's hair. What's the chances of him popping up again? And that is not a normal surname. And it's the same guy. Like, really? Fucking 40 years later? What's the chances? Others resorted to the unskilled use of instruments with the accompanying risks of septicemia. The coat hanger, basically. No, I think he actually just wrote the book years later, and they're referencing it because he was. I mean, the guy was ahead of his time, as we found out last week. So I think that's where they're going with there. I think they're just referencing a book that he happened to read, and it is just purely coincidence that he's popped up again. Not that I actually believe in coincidences, because like I said, I mentioned this story last week, and then it was on my list. It was next on my list for stories. So I was already doing this story this week without kenning the full extent to it. So it's no surprise. And considering in the grand scheme of things how small Scotland is, there's no going to be that many like professors and whatnot that keep popping up. Hey, 2 seconds, folk. Sorry, I was talking to one of my children that's a lot taller than me. Yeah, I have issues about that. Yeah, I don't like it. Hey, kiddo, at least yours are bigger than me. Yay! The now. Dum bum bum bum. Right. The trade of baby farming seemed to have been more popular in England, but the profits to be made attracted the attention of Jessie King and her elderly lover. Elderly? He was only in his 60s. 50s? Oh, mind you, 1888. Duh. Huh. I'll not belong to she's taller than me. Anyway, elderly lover Thomas Pearson. It is not clear how many babies died in their care, but the matter came to the attention of police when some boys playing in the Stockbridge area of Edinburgh found the body of an infant wrapped in an old coat. Two seconds. Now, here's the thing about it. I'm gonna skip parts because we've already went over it. Oh. Now, at a trial, the Lord Justice Clerk painted a far from pretty picture of the life behind the public image of Edinburgh, and indicated that the parents of these wretched children must bear at least some moral responsibility. But he made it clear that the jury accepted the evidence. It was enough to convict. So he's saying that like the ones that sell these babies are they're partly responsible. Now, while awaiting execution in Carlton Jail, Jessie made unsuccessful attempts at beating the hangman by trying to strangle herself. Her mental health was investigated, but she was pronounced fit to hang, and the sentence was carried out March 11, 1889. I might pick up some here. She tries to kill herself and they're concerned about her mental health. Understandable. But they declared her fit to hang. What fudging difference, see what I'm doing? Difference does it make? She's gonna die. They are going to hang her. So why should it make a blind bit of difference if she's no feeling up to it? She's suffering from anxiety. She tried to kill us. Oh, we'll postpone the execution till she's feeling a wee bit better. Really? Now that's, before anybody points anything out, right, this isn't me saying owning about mental health, owning bad towards it. But in this instance, what difference does it make? She's been sentenced to a hang, so why should her mental health be any consideration whatsoever? She's feeling a wee bit down the day. Oh, we'll hang her the morn. We'll put it off for a couple of weeks till she's feeling better, and then we'll hang her? No. What would they have done when she tried to strangle herself if she'd fell and broke her arm? We can't hang her just now, she's got a broken arm. We'll wait till her arm's mended and then we'll hang her. It makes no difference. So, why? I don't get that one. They deemed her fit to hang. So what if they decided that her mental health wasn't up to it? What, would they have postponed it? Would they have let her out in compassionate grounds? Because let's be real here, they've done that in Aberdeen. Oh, there we go. Couldn't get my ball on there. I would be lost without this. Sorry, throat's a bit dry. But yeah, and realistically, what difference does it make if and mental health isn't the greatest? She's been sentenced to death. She's got depression, we can't hang her. We need to put her on to happy pills until she's feeling a bit better, and then we're going to hang her? Really? That doesn't make any sense at all. But that's just my opinion. Okay? Just want it, when I go off in these tangents, I want it made clear, these are my opinions. These are not the opinions of any writers that I've discovered. If I'm reading out their opinion, I tell you their opinion. Like that one that said diminished responsibility. That was her opinion. In my opinion, she's wrong. But when I'm going off in my rants about how stupid they're being, that is my opinion. You may agree, you may not agree. I am open to all opinions in the subject matters that are... Sorry, I have a hair in my eye. Ow. Oh, and it's actually missing my contact lens, which is incredible. That's skillfully done. But yeah, if you have a different opinion to myself, then by all means jump into the chat. That's what we're here for. It's a history lesson. A lot of this is facts, but like 85% of it is facts. It's stuff that's been proven. But the remaining 15%, it's opinion. So I'd love to hear everybody else's opinion. Why is my chat box... I need to fix that. I've just noticed that my chat doesn't stay on my screen that yous are seeing. My chat box is there, but my chat's no. Must be a timer on that only, because it is coming up, but it's no staying up. I need to fix that, because when I export this later or on Tuesday to YouTube, it's going to look like nobody's talking. And hey, I've got the whole chat log beside me. People have been talking. Gone off on a tangent again. Sorry. But yeah. So they decided she was healthy enough to be hanged. Good, I guess. Right. Basically, just as earlier in the century, Burke might have walked free if he had not given evidence for the Crown. Jessie King might have escaped if her gallant lover had not shopped her in. So if he hadn't said, I had nothing to do with it, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to give evidence against her, even though I ken nothing about only what, I'm going to turn state's evidence against her, and I need to go free and drink myself into and grave. Really didn't think that through, did he? Escaped the hangman's noose just to drink himself to death. Ah, fucking idiot. Oh, I escaped prosecution for killing children and didn't hang, so I'm going to drink myself to death. Alcoholics, man. God, I love them. Again, that was sarcasm, just for the record. Just in case you didn't get that. Although Jessie King's trial was not complex, the Crown took great care to obtain the best possible forensic evidence. It would have been easy to jump to conclusions in a case of suspected child murder, and in the case of very poor people, some babies who died of natural causes were disposed of very casually to avoid exposure. The case was notable for the emergence of the doctors involved, Dr. Henry Littlejohn and his son Harvey, who succeeded him in the chair of forensic medicine at Edinburgh University, and Dr. Joseph Bell, the original Sherlock Holmes. It was also the first trial attended by William Roehead, W.S., the eminent chronicler of crime, who covered every murder trial bar one at the High Court in Edinburgh for the next 60 years. In 60 years, he missed one murder trial. Because he was holidaying in Arran at the time of the trial. Really? He was here? Oh. And again, man, but just like you, on a clear day, you can see Arran. Like, literally, you drive 5 minutes out of the road and you can see feckin' Arran. Oh. Why do they always come back here? Why do they always bring this crap to my door? But yeah, so he was holidaying on Arran, so he missed one murder trial in 60 years. And Jesse King's was the first that he went to. So again, these are record-breaking cases. These are fucking impressive that we're able to do some of the stuff back then. Just as in 1889, there are still many unwanted children around the world, and a final thought can be found in the Gospel according to St. Mark. I wasn't going to read this, but I am gonna. Because this is actually a bit of scripture that I know really well. Suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not. The only reason I know that particular piece of scripture is that the beginning of, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, I believe it's quoted at the beginning of that. Now, blah blah blah, Lord Justice Clark presiding, a woman named Jessie King residing at Stockbridge, Edinburgh, was charged with having murdered 3 children by strangulation and suffocation. The first child being 12 months old, the second 6 weeks, and the third 5 months. The oldest child was 1, and the youngest wasn't even 2 months old, 6 weeks old. 6 weeks old. The children were illegitimate and had been adopted by the prisoner, who received sums varying from £2 to £5 in each case. Between £2 and a fiver. That's how much she got for taking in these poor illegitimate babies that nobody wanted, and she was paid between £2 and £5 back then. Today it's none, it's a scratch card. But back then that was a lot of freaking money. And she was paid this money and she killed those babies. In a declaration made by the prisoner in November, she confessed that she had strangled one of the children, and after getting the second child, she brought it home and gave it some whiskey to keep it quiet. The whiskey took away its breath, and while it lay gasping, she put her hand upon its mouth to choke it. At the High Court, the prisoner pleaded not guilty. Evidence was laid at great length for the prosecution, but there was no evidence for the defence. The Solicitor General withdrew the charge in the third case. The Lord Justice Clerk, in summing up, said it appeared to be quite a common thing for guilty parents to hand over their offspring to the care of others. When they heard the advertisements for the adoption of such children were answered by 25 such persons, they could not but have the most grave suspicion that underlying the system of supposed adoption there lay a state of things which was dangerous to the moral welfare of the state. The jury, after absence of a couple of minutes, unanimously found the prisoner guilty of murder on both charges. Sentence of death was then proclaimed. The prisoner was greatly affected and upon being removed said, "Oh, to be hanged, what a death." No, actually, I printed off the same information twice. So, there we have it, boys and girls. The story of Jesse King and Thomas Pearson. And I'm naming him as well. Just for the record, I am deliberately. Although he was, by all accounts, not guilty, I am naming him because he was guilty as shit. But the story of Jesse King and Thomas Pearson, who were paid to take care of these poor unwanted babies, and they took them and they strangled them. Oh, to be hanged, what a death. Really? That was her parting words as she was removed for the court. Yeah, I just wish that, mister, I know nothing about it, so I wasn't involved, I didn't have a clue, but I'll turn evidence. I just wish he had been hanged as well. He deserved it, but at least he died a year later. There's no compassionate leave for this lot. They died. And alcohol poisoning. Right. He would have died of cirrhosis of the liver. His liver would have failed. Now, I have experience in this particular. Not through alcohol. My liver failed because of infection less than a year ago. And it hurts. He died because his liver failed because he was a drunk. He would have spent three days throwing up. His stomach would have been sore. He wouldn't even have been able to keep down a sip of water over the next couple of days. Now, bear in mind, I was in a hospital receiving medical attention, so I got my symptoms lessened. But he would have spent a good couple of days thrown up, not being able to keep even water down. Then for the next couple of days he would have been in complete agony. His liver would have been extended and contorted, and you could feel it. He could feel it under his ribcage because it would have moved. He would be drifting in and out of consciousness. And then eventually, he would have died. Slowly and painfully. Liver failure is not a quick death. It would have taken a week. A long, slow, agonising death. Now, I always said that after I went through it, I said that I wouldn't wish that my worst enemy, but you know what? Thomas Pearson, I am so glad that is the way you went out, my friend, because that is the very least you deserved. Your little plaything, she hanged until she was dead. But you were behind it and you suffered. And I know I know this man suffered. Because I suffered. And I was in a hospital getting drugs pumped into me to bring my liver back. He wouldn't have got that. He wouldn't have got that back then. They wouldn't have even been able to tell him what was wrong had they went to a hospital. Where would they have went? Queen Margaret's? They wouldn't have had a clue. I'll tell you that, don't I? So, yeah. Might not have been a nice story, but at least the killers got what they deserved. A hangman's noose and liver failure. And that shit is painful. I've given birth without drugs and liver failure was worse. That simple. But I'm going to leave it there for tonight. But next week's story. Next week's story's an unusual one. It was one that I actually found last night when I was lying in bed. I found it. And it's a more recent story, and there's a show coming out, a movie coming out about it. Before I forget, actually, if you're interested in finding out more about the Jesse King case, if you go onto the BBC iPlayer, I can't believe I'm advertising for the fucking BBC, but there you go. BBC Alba, it's the Gaelic BBC. They did a documentary on her. I should have the name here somewhere. I should have. And I don't. I thought I could have sworn I had it in this paperwork. No. But it's on BBC Alba and it is a documentary. But next week's case. It is fairly recent. It's not an ongoing case, I don't do them. It's not even a case, it's a story. It's an interesting one. And no one dies. So there's that. This caught my attention last night. I was just flicking through my phone, having a read at things, and noticed that there is a movie coming out about this particular story, And I read into it and I thought, you know what, this I'm doing. I'm covering this. So, yeah. Next week's one's going to be good. But like I said, it is a milder one. Well, it's not mild, it's freaking interesting. But no one dies in this one. So, I'm going to market it as over 18. Purely because when I'm putting my opinions across, they're not the nicest. I've got a mouth like an old Irish navvy, so there's that. So I'm still going to market it as an over 18, but it's not gory, it's not, there's no death, no children were harmed, and there's no cannibals. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm going to call it a night. But yep, like I said, check out BBC Alba for that documentary on the BBC iPlayer. It's certainly worth it. And you'll see that Jessie King was not at all that like. She was in fact just a plain looking woman who was portrayed as a monster because an alcoholic took advantage of her and they ended up killing 3 innocent babies. But I will be back on Tuesday. Yeah, I'll be back on Tuesday. Mr. Modman will be on tomorrow, but I'll be back on Tuesday with Metal and Mayhem. Be sure to check that out. Be sure to check out Ginger Minnie, who will be back tomorrow night with... Actually, I believe we've got a new game planned. I think we're going to be taking a break for Fortnite. I think we've got a new game. Yeah, a game. But yeah, no, I think we've got a new game planned. So you'll see me, you'll see Ginger Minnie, and you'll see Wraith Reborn. We'll be streaming this over the next few days just to get a feel for it. It's a game that's just come out and we're really looking forward to it. We've all got it all downloaded, all good to go. So over the next couple of days we're going to be streaming that. So be sure to check it out. But thank you, Mr. Monman. Actually, I can do yours if I... There we go. See? Hey, got me. I can multitask. So yeah, check out the other pages. New game dropping them all. Over the next couple of days, it's going to be... Well, it's us 3. We're going to be taking the piss at each other and dying a lot. But until then, take care of each other. Don't go buying or selling babies, please. And don't get hooked up with alcoholics, I guess, is the moral of this story. Really? Don't fall for an alcoholic? Wait a minute. Can I go back 20 years? And I guess not. Alright, so, but I'll be back on Tuesday. Until then, bye bye now.